morning, engineers and tigers. I hope you're having a good day so far. Well, welcome to Nature Studies. I've been missing you so much that I even wore my Paris shirt today. Today we're going to talk about communication. I believe you've been talking about this with Megan and Laura, and I was thinking, how can I talk about communication in nature? And that made me begin to wonder, how do animals communicate? Now, we can't go out to the zoo, and we're not going to take a walk through the forest, but we have a backyard, or we can go out on our street or to a close by park. So let's think about animals that would be close by that we see on a regular day-to-day basis. I have included for you a chart that looks a lot like this. It shows us the different ways that animals communicate. The first column says visual. That means something you can see. The second column says auditory. That's something you can hear. Tactile, something you can feel. And the last one, chemical, something you can smell. So it's really just your basic 5 senses, except we left out taste, of course. The animals have 5 senses too, and we're going to see how they use them to communicate. So let's begin with visual. Again, visual is something you can see. Here's the word visual. Look at your chart. I believe one of them mentions fireflies. Fireflies glow to attract mates. That's one way that they can communicate. If one firefly sees another flashing its light, it knows it may be looking for a mate. Another animal you've probably seen in your backyard are the little anole lizards. They have a big red flap of skin on their neck, and they puff it in and out. They do this too when they're trying to attract mates. It also shows on your chart peacocks. They spread their big tails, and cobras inflate their hoods to scare others. Many snakes can do that. We have one here in Texas called a puffin adder, and it will puff up and make itself look very big and try to scare off predators. The second category that we have is something you would hear, and the word for that is auditory. Auditory. Auditory is, again, something that you can hear. And let's look back to the chart. Elephants use their trunks to talk to other herds over long distances. Can you make a trumpeting sound like an elephant? Doo! Mine's not so great. Hopefully yours is better. Whales use sounds to communicate. Wolves will howl. Even your dog will bark, or your cat will meow. These are ways that even your house animals can communicate. Now, the third category is tactile. Tactile, again, means something that you can feel or touch. So the animals would be touching each other in some manner so they can communicate. Here's the word tactile. Let's let's once again refer back to your chart. And tactile. My dog does this a lot. Dogs lick their puppies to bond and clean and stimulate their development. My dog likes to lick me a lot to get my attention. Baboons use touch to show affection and groom each other. You might have seen maybe on TV or some video you've watched. Baboons will get one behind the other and they will groom each other by picking out grass burrs and bugs and such from the other's fur. And that's an expression of love, actually. And the third one, be careful with this one, is horses kick other horses to establish dominance. A lot of animals will use some kind of tactile movement to establish dominance or to establish their home area. They can butt heads, kick, bite. All of those would be tactile ways to communicate. And the last one is chemical. Chemical is kind of a strange word to use to identify this category. It basically means smell, okay? Animals, oops, here's the word chemical. Animals are able to produce different scents or smells to communicate. Now we all know a skunk produces a terrible smell, but other animals produce smells that we may not smell, but other animals of the same species would smell. Let's look at the chart. Cats. Cats will rub against objects to mark with their scent. We all know that dogs will pee on things to leave their scent. Ants use pheromone trails to follow each other. Pheromone, simply put, is a smell that an animal produces. So when the lead ant begins a path, it leaves behind a pheromone as it goes, and that other ants can follow by smelling that pheromone. And then the last one is skunks. So we know about skunks. It will let out that bad smell to scare away predators. So again, the 4 ways that animals communicate are chemical, tactile, auditory, and visual. Visual was something that you see. Auditory, something you hear. Tactile, something you touch or feel. And chemical, something you smell or the other animal will smell. So let's think about what animals you might have in your backyard or on your street. First thing that comes to my mind is a squirrel. I have telephone wires out in my backyard, and there's constantly squirrels going up and down and up and down. And they never run into each other. I always wonder, how are they telling the other squirrel, hey, I'm coming, stop, clear the path? I don't know. And then if we think smaller, what about under the ground, an earthworm? How do earthworms communicate with each other? And of course, ants. Now we learned ants have pheromones to help communicate. Ants also have antennae. I wonder if they touch antennas to communicate? That's something I'd have to look up. So what I want you to do is think of 4 animals that you might find in your backyard. Some samples again: squirrel, a worm, an ant, a beetle. At nighttime in my street, we have raccoons and possums. You might also. Think of 4 that you would like to know a little bit more about. And then your project is to put them together in a book. Let me show you. This is what I came up with. You can come up with your own cover for your book. I simply put how backyard animals communicate and room for the author, by, and a blank line. You would put your name there. You don't have to type it on the computer like this. You can write it out, you could color it in, make it as fancy or as simple as you want. Then inside your book, you're going to have a page something like this. Let me get a bit closer. It would be blank at the top, and then I want you to put the animal name, like squirrel, and down here, tell me how it communicates. Just a few words, a sentence or 2 would be fine. Squirrels communicate by shaking their bushy tail to warn other animals. That'll do. I mostly want you to think about animals that you have in your backyard and how they might, and research how they could possibly communicate with each other. And put them together in a book. Remember, 4 animals. One more thing to include when you're doing your animal pages and explaining how it communicates, would you please put whether it's auditory, tactile, chemical, or visual? That would be a great addition. Now, you're going to have all next week to work on this. I'd like to see it done by April 10th. I believe that gives you 2 weeks. Yes, that gives you 2 weeks to work on it. But I will shoot a short video next week to check in and see how you're doing. And I'll make a little book and show you what animals I have. You'll probably have different ones, and you may have different ways that they communicate. It's fine. Just whatever you can find and you can research will work great for your book. I hope you enjoy this. Take some time to think about what animals you can choose. Spend some time outside, looking around, listening. What animals can you find that you would like to put in your book? If you want to put more than 4, that's great, but at least 4, please. I hope that you're doing great at home and you're staying busy. Don't forget to go outside and enjoy the outdoors. It sure helps me to go in the backyard and just have a cold lemonade and just listen to the birds. It makes me relax a little bit. These are stressful times and we're all going to get through them. I hope you guys are doing great, and don't forget to have some fun. Until later, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.